I see that this content still says not available.
It must be available now. So a very good afternoon, our viewers, wherever you are in the world. Today we have got Mr. Emmanuel Jeffrey. He is based in Czech Republic. We are honored to be with him here. He is the director of software delivery at Foxconn. I'm sure I have spelled the company exceptionally well. We tried our best to be time conscious, and to those who are viewing us right now, you can maybe put some like button. Can you hit the like button there? You just try to tell us if you are hearing us clearly. There is no problem before we start. So back to you, Mr. Jeffrey, Mr. Emmanuel Jeffrey. A very good afternoon, sir. It's my honor to be having you on this show. I'm sure the whole of this week I was just dealing with director of this, director of what, director of this. And today I'm honored to be with you on this show. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. You can call me Emmanuel or Manuel. That's still fine.
Okay, so you are fine if I say Emmanuel, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. There are some people who are following us as we speak right now, and we want to tell them where you are right now. We are based in Czech Republic, and you have got many things which you yourself you are involved into. You are at work and doing your work very well. So our show today is going to be divided into two. We are going to touch the professional side of yourself, and then we are going to, then the last part, we are going to touch on the helping side, which the efforts which you are doing back home. I understand you have got some helping, more like helping the need back in Zimbabwe. So I don't want to preempt everything. What I want right now is for you, Emmanuel, to try to explain to the viewers who are following this program as we speak right now, just in brief, who is Emmanuel Jeffrey? You can take us a brief from Zimbabwe up until where you are right now in Czech Republic, in brief.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the show. Basically, my name is Emmanuel Jeffrey. I was born in the early 80s in Zimbabwe, just after independence. I did my primary education in some poor farming communities back home. Just to give the viewers just a quick glimpse of my primary education, my primary school was 7 kilometers away, so we used to walk every day 7 kilometers to school and coming back. And then I went to secondary school in Zimbabwe. After that, I went to university at the National University of Science and Technology. I studied computer science. Then I started working for my IBM premium business partner, a company called Integra in Zimbabwe. Then I moved to Czech Republic. I worked for about 9 years in IBM, firstly as an IT specialist or / software developer, moving into project management and leadership roles. Currently, I'm working at Foxconn, Czech Republic, as director of software delivery.
You have got a rich history, a rich background. If I'm following you very well, your childhood, when you were going to school, back then, maybe your primary and your secondary, there were moments you are saying you were going to school and you were traveling on foot for a distance which can maybe reach numerically 7 kilometers on foot. So as something which can encourage the viewers, those people who are viewing us right now, just from the dusty villages back there in Zimbabwe. I mean, whilst you were growing up, did it hang in your mind? Were you having that thought that at one time given this opportunity, you will be someone great, someone who can many people take as an inspirational. Yeah, I
Well,
mean that when you're growing up, where you're having this vision, which you are right now.
I would say the first early years of my life were pretty tough. My parents were farm workers, basically earning about $1 a day, and that's what we were living on. But I think my greatest hero is my dad, who worked so hard and also educated himself to improve our lives. So basically, in the first 3 primary school years, it was really tough, traveling 7 kilometers. And also the first 5 years of primary school, basically, we were living in a house where there was no electricity. So I would read using candles when I would start in the evening. So it was basically trying to buy some candles or making sure that I read during the day because there was no electricity. But one thing that I remember when I was young, I always had this attitude that one day I am going to make it. The first time I thought that I was going to be somebody, it was in grade 6. I remember thinking that I really would like to be an engineer. And that was the thought that came into my mind. Till now, I'm trying to figure out where that thought came from. But I've always wanted, and since grade 6, that I was going to be an engineer. I thought in my mind that time I was going to be an electronic and electrical engineer. But it turned out that I ended up in software engineering. But I had always thought that I would make it. And I had seen some people in my community who had made it. So I just thought, even though it doesn't look well, I'm going to do my best to study. And my parents always said, if you want to move from this poverty state of life, you need to study hard. So studying was really one of the things that was that my parents emphasized on, and in order to leave these poverty cycles.
Great. That's awesome. There's something which I checked. What usually I do before I go to any of my interviews, any of my shows, I try to check the profile of the person whom I'm going to interview. There's something which I didn't understand. I'm sure you can help those who are following us right now. Whilst you were in Czech Republic, you then had to upgrade from your undergrad, and then
Yes.
I understand you were doing, I mean, 2 masters, right? With university from Austria and I'm sure is it Ukraine. Can you shed more light there as an inspirational, as a motivational to those who are following us?
So when I was working in IBM, I started working in project management and leadership roles. Being a computer science graduate, I realized that my my business knowledge was not so good. So I wanted to start MBA. So I looked around and I discovered that in Austria, an Austrian university, Fachhochschule Technikum Wien, University of Applied Science, in combination with National University of Economics, Kharkiv National University of Economics in Ukraine, they were offering a double master's degree, which means I would graduate with master's in systems engineering as well as master's in business administration. So I took the challenge of studying double master's degree while working 8 hours, and I had to travel I was living in the Czech Republic. I would drive to Austria, which would take me approximately 1.5 hours every. We were studying about 4 days a week. So I would drive to Austria and do my studies during the evening, come back to work. So I did basically for 2 years. I was full-time employee as well as a student. And some of my classes were in Ukraine and some of them as well as in Austria. So it was pretty tough period, but I knew that I needed to do this in order to upskill myself, and hence I took on the challenge.
Great. It's awesome. You see, I'm trying to imagine myself. Not all people, not many people can manage what you're talking about, but like motivating, those upcoming, I mean, the young ones back in Zimbabwe, they or wherever they are in the world, what might be your motivational advice? Because from someone who was walking to school, traveling 7 kilometers, going to school on foot, and coming back on daily basis, your primary, maybe, and also your secondary, to an extent of then being managing to do 2 master's degree at the same time from different, I mean, countries, whilst you're in Czech Republic. Do you have anything which you can say to then try to motivate the younger ones? Because I understand my shows right now, if I can tell you these shows, somewhere, I'm sure they are now followed by many. And last Saturday, we had an article which was produced from one of our shows. So as a motivational advice, what can you tell the younger ones? These people who are now, I mean, our young ones, they cannot understand. What can you tell them?
Yeah, I think one of my greatest inspiration. I read a book written by a guy called Jack Canfield, which is called The Success Principles. And one of the profound things I read in the book is, as a human being, you should take 100% responsibility for your life. We don't choose where we were born, but as we grow old, we choose how our lives can turn up. You cannot still be at 30 or 35 and still blaming your poor parents for how you turn up. So one of the things that I did as early as I was in secondary school was to take 100% responsibility for my life, to say, I am going to change my life. I am going to work hard. I'm going to study hard. Would start sometime day and nights. I think there is time for fun, but as a student, sometimes you just need to make sacrifices to study hard and study things that matter. So I think if you want to enjoy at the same time as studying, and if you want to make it as early as possible in life, you just have to make sacrifice. So one thing is take 100% responsibility for your life. Second, study hard in the areas that you want to progress. You know, somebody said that if you take 30 minutes every day to study one particular topic, and you do it every day religiously, in 5 years you will know more than most of the world in that particular topic, because it's just basically about giving it time and really working on it. So I think I took that upon myself. When I was doing the double master's degree, I'm still married. I was married with a child, as well as my projects. Some of my projects were based in Sweden. So I was traveling between Sweden, Czech Republic, Austria, and Ukraine during the same time. I'm not saying this is sustainable over a long period of time, but I think in some periods of life, you really need to make sacrifices to say, what is watching TV going to help me at this particular moment, instead of studying particular topics. So I do think that irregardless of where you come from, and irregardless of a background, if you put yourself out there and really focus, you're actually able to make it in life.
This is great. Great. And we are going to slightly change the direction of our show now that the academic and the professional side, I'm sure the viewers, those who are following us right now, they've understood very well. You spoke exceptionally well. But before I touch the other side, can I also ask, I'm sure you must be having a caring wife. Are you married, Mr. Emmanuel?
Yes, I'm married and I have 2 kids. One who is 13 and one who is 6.
We think, I'm sure your family is supporting you to such a rigorous and hardworking man. So I wanted to check something. You have been doing some helping, some developmental side back home, and I'm sure I understand it's in the Epworth area there, near Harare, this outskirt of Harare in Epworth. Can you try to shed more lights there?
So just to give you the background, one of the 3 things that I had, having grown in poverty, is really poverty, diseases, and prejudice. So these are the three things that I hate in my life. So in 2017, I partnered with Feed the Hungry Czech Republic, as well as Joseph Foundation in Zimbabwe and Word of Life Church. And we went to Zimbabwe, but we were targeting the schools, and we feed some poor communities there. So this year, one of the things that struck me is when people were starting to talk about this COVID-19 crisis, coronavirus, and the lockdowns. I just thought about the communities back home, the communities that I grew up in, and the communities that I have seen back then, which basically survive on selling food or in informal settlements. And one of such communities is Epworth. Because once you say lockdown, stay home, and these people do not have formal jobs, I really sort of became scared and really worried that we're going to see more people dying of hunger than coronavirus. That's why I gathered a group of people here in Czech Republic, some Zimbabweans living in Czech Republic, and I said, let us try and raise some funds to help the people in Epworth. We cannot help the whole community, but if we are able at least to help about 4,300 people for a month with some food, that would be something that can go a long way.
This is excellent. We are going to expand it, this issue of Epworth and you helping the poor, so that instead of us concentrating on COVID-19, I mean, we can have more death through hunger, people not getting food, something like that. So one thing on your profile is your passion of developing leaders. There are a lot of things which I read there. There was an issue of your passion on developing leaders. There's a bit of coaching there. There is this issue of, working in teams, software. What? I'm not an IT. I'm not an IT person, so you can shed more light there. Your passion of helping the need in that regard.
So basically, as I said, basically also in 2017, when we went back home, our focus was not just in feeding the poor. I went with a group of 12 people from the Czech Republic, and our target was really to speak to the people in Zimbabwe, as well as in churches, as well as in schools, just focusing them, inspiring them around the areas around leadership, as well as how to better themselves. And as well as part of my job, my focus is really developing leaders, right? In my role as the director, I manage managers. So my task is really to help them to be better leaders and better managers. And this has been my passion. And if you follow some of my writings on LinkedIn, is basically around the areas of how to develop high performing teams, how to develop those teams, ways in which to develop that. And being in IT as well as in software, one of the key areas is around agility. So I'm actually a certified agile trainer. I'm a certified Scrum Master, and I have sent so many certifications in agile, so I understand agile and Scrum very well. And I really enjoy just helping people and mentoring young people to be better leaders, because most of the problems that we face in this world comes back to leadership, not being able to prioritize correctly the resources that are availed to leaders in different places. So I do think that if I am to contribute to this world, and I contribute in developing better leaders who love their people, who are able to focus and make people more successful, who focus on people rather than focusing on themselves, I think I can make a greater contribution to this world.
You have an objective which you want to meet right now. There is an issue of you want to help and feed numerically, I'm sure it's 4,300 people.
Yes.
In Epworth per month.
Yes.
And I understand you're having your resources which you're having, but they are not enough. And
Yes.
I'm sure you created a Go Fund. Can you shed more light on that?
So basically, as I said before, I combined with a couple of Zimbabweans in Czech Republic, and we created a Go Fund, Go Get funding actually. And the reason we were trying to raise 15,000 US dollars, and this 15,000 US dollars will be able to help us feed 4,300 starving people. And we, as I told you before, we combined with Feed the Hungry. If we're able to raise this amount of money, we're able to ship a container which is sponsored by Feed the Hungry to Zimbabwe. And this container, it really contains basic food like rice and lentils and things like that. And the interesting part, this food is so cheap that if per serving of a plate, that's about 5 cents. So if you take it down to a notch with $15 US dollars, if somebody, for example, donates 15 US dollars, they are able to feed a family of 4 for a month with 2 meals a day. That is why we're really focusing with our partnership with Feed the Hungry and Joseph Foundation on this. This is because this food is already sort of certified by World Food Program, and it contains all the nutrients that are needed.
Great, that's awesome. I mean, you're doing wonderful job there. And the other thing which I realized before we started this program, these shows, is that we've got a lot of people who are doing wonderful job, who are doing something great for our nation. But somehow, I don't know, maybe there might have been some media monopoly or some bottlenecks, and I mean, we were not knowing this, and it's some of these platforms which can make the world, our country, and our people know. But tell me something. We are almost now, almost winding up now. Tell me something. Whilst you are doing this charity work, are there some challenges which you are facing, and how are you being able to maneuver? How are you being able to solve those problems, if there are any?
Well, I think basically it's just about publicity, right? So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, and I think we will share the video widely to get more people also see this, because I think with this, if we combine many Zimbabweans in the diaspora, not just in the Czech Republic, in different countries, look, with this program that we're working on with Feed the Hungry, with this one container for $15,000, if it means we are going to be able to feed 4,300 people in a month, just imagine if we are able to triple this and even make it more wider and discuss largely even more with Feed the Hungry and be able to ship more containers. So I think the main challenge is really publicity and having people combine together their efforts. And we're really willing to combine with different organizations that want to join this initiative, because for me, I'm just doing this in order to help. And the more people I am able to help, and the more people we are able to combine together as Zimbabweans and as well as other nationalities in the countries that we live in, I think we are able to raise even more funds and help more the poor. Because right now it's just about the immediate need. Because we talk about, okay, I like to develop leaders. But if people are dying of hunger and starvation, and if kids are dying of hunger and starvation, we cannot even talk about future leaders, right? So I think the immediate need at the moment, there are two things. One is really trying to stay alive from this COVID-19. There are other companies that are focusing on the medicine part of it, but I think we need a group of people who focus on really getting the word out there about the food.
I would try to put again the banner of those who are willing and those who are following as we speak right now. Your details for the Go Fund. So whilst the banner will be reflecting there, I have got the last question, which I want you maybe to also give me a solution and answer there. From here up until maybe some years to come, Are you going to concentrate on Epworth alone, or you have got some plans to expand, maybe the whole of Harare there, or maybe countrywide in Zimbabwe? That's the first question in brief. Then the second one is that the world is now, there's more to do with technology now. It's your area. I don't know it much. But what are some of your goals, maybe in regard to Zimbabwe, on top of helping the need in regard to food and all those things? Have we also checked on maybe developing our communities in regard to technology in Zimbabwe?
Yes. So basically, the first in the first question, our first target in terms of the food is Epworth. And depending on the funding that we get, we are actually able to expand. So we are open regarding that. In regards to the future and in terms of technology, I think my focus, as I said before, is really developing leaders. And as you know, my area is software development. And I'm actually able to help those who are starting in software development areas with some knowledge. And I do think that if I'm able to develop some leaders and some people in this area, actually they can develop our country further. So I'd really like to focus more on developing leaders and inspiring upcoming leaders. And my focus area is in software development and IT, and I can help people with that. So I'm working on some plans with different people that we are going to go to Zimbabwe again. We were planning to actually go back this year to visit certain organizations and schools, but due to the current crisis, we have actually to postpone to next year. So next year, we'll also visit Zimbabwe, focusing on schools and other organizations and in the areas of developing leaders and also technology.
Your last words. The viewers, I'm sure, somewhere you will see the comments, you attend to them maybe after the show. I was trying to pick those comments to the screen. Somewhere, I'm sure technically I'm not an IT person, but somewhere they will be there on this video, and after the show you can attend to those questions. Your last parting words. This was one of my best ever shows, which since I've started, I'm sure we want to thank God, everything went on exceptionally well. Your last words to the viewers, to those who, your potential funders, and anyone who is following as we speak right now?
So before I say the last words, I would like to say thank you, Stewie, and you can always have me again on the show. We can focus more on the professional side. But at the moment, we have a crisis in this world, and the part that I would like to play is in really helping the people. So if you could go to our GoFundMe, to our Go Get Funding page, donate any amount will actually help us. If you can give us $25 US, 15 US, and if there are other partners there who are already working in Epworth, you can come and contact us on our Go Get Funding page as well. So help us, because we don't want to see more people dying of hunger than coronavirus. Each of us can play a part. So thank you all, and thank you for joining us in this initiative.
I want to assure you one thing. Within a space period of less than 4 weeks, we are going to call you again here, and just to get the feedback. My assumption and my hope is that somehow, this show must make a difference in your efforts to feed those people who are possibly going to face some food shortages. It has been wonderful. It has been awesome having you here. And what I would just say is, may the good Lord bless you. And we'll call you again, and you help us with the feedback. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Jeffrey.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you for your time, and have a good day.